the legend, Tony Gordon.
Woohoo! Tony Gordon.
What? No. What's happening?
Oh, okay.
Whoa! No, wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Oh my God!
Dude! Not bad
Tony,
for what?
How
77?
How old are you, Tony?
77.
77.
He's the man.
He passed you, man. Fred, how many push-ups you can make?
Forget it, man.
Yeah, start.
Let's
start.
talk another day.
So, thank you, Tony. Are you ready, guys? Excellent. The first time, I always like to mention this. The first time I went to MDRT, and it was MDRT experience in Thailand, 2006. I was late to enter the conference hall, like many of you now, standing on the door. And when I entered the room, I heard a speaker on the stage saying, in this profession, we can achieve anything we want to achieve if only we have the courage to believe we can achieve it. And I turned and I saw the legend Tony Gordon on the stage. And from that time, I told myself, one day, I will be on the stage next to this big man. And I'm so proud to say, you are my big brother, my mentor, my role model, and thank you for all what you did and you do for our profession, Tony. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's very nice of you to refer to me as a legend. You know, MDRT put a panel on some years ago, and it was called Living Legends. And my kids saw this. And so when I got home from the annual meeting, the kids said, oh, the leg end has arrived.
Which end?
So I still have to take the trash out at home.
Yeah, that happens.
So
do you want to ask some questions?
yeah,
Why are we here?
Go ahead, start.
Well, okay. Do you have your list?
I have my list.
Okay. So I'll start with the first one.
Okay.
And by the way, there's going to be one where we're going to get some interaction from the audience. So come up with some questions that you might have for Tony, especially if you have like objections that you're getting these days, things that would be, you know, that you'd like an answer to. But my first question, Tony, is you're recognized as an icon in the life insurance industry, profession as you like to call it. Could you share with us some pivotal moments or experiences that shaped your journey? Because I know that you'd been in the business 8 years before you made MDRT, and then all of a sudden, on the 9th year, you do TOT.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
You want me to tell you what happened? I have an interesting background for someone who's been successful. I was a high school dropout. I was told at 16 that the very words were, we didn't kick you out, but we're not taking you back. And so I worked in retailing, and then I found my way into the life insurance business. For those first 8 years, after a very tough beginning, I needed 43 sales presentations to make my first sale. But it soon settled down. My second month was no better. My second month I made 6 sales in the month, and by the end of the month they'd all cancelled. But then it settled down. 2 small sales every week. If you have the activity, 2 small sales every week. And I was doing about 2/3 of MDRT, and I thought, this is going to be the life. And, you know, I was making a living, and you know, we had a modest home, but I thought this was how it was going to be for the rest of my career. And then somebody said, I'm going to a meeting, why don't you come? And I said, no, I don't want to go to have somebody tell me how to sell life insurance. Not that I was selling very much of it. And he said words that I've said 1,000 times to people when they say, is it worth going to MDRT? He said to me, if you don't think the meeting's worthwhile, I'll give you back the money. And I've said that to people when they say, is it worth going to MDRT? I've said, go to MDRT. If you don't think it's worth it, I'll give you back the cost. And nobody's ever asked for the cost back. But I went to this meeting and somebody said, if you're not doing business at the level of MDRT, you're not doing justice to yourself, your family, your clients, because you're just not doing enough. And I said, what is this MDRT? Now, I'd been in the business by then 7 or 8 years, and I discovered that it was a club for the top people in our profession. And I thought, as a young guy I was about 30 at the time, and I thought, if this is what I'm going to be doing for the next 40 plus years, then if only out of self-respect, I should join this club. How do I join? They said, you have to qualify. Well, okay, what do I do to qualify? And they told me. And I said, I can't do that much. It's 50% more than I've ever done before. And they said, no, break it down. It's so much a month. It's so much a week. It's this much each day. And I worked out that if I made 4 appointments a day, 4 days a week, one of them wouldn't be there, and one of the 3 would buy from me. And it just might be possible that I could qualify for MDRT. Now, the only thing that I did differently, because I'd always had high activity, the only thing, Fred, I did differently was I was setting daily goals. And daily goals give us a sense of urgency to do today what needs to be done today. And my business doubled. Now you go figure, how does this happen? You're going along at this rate and suddenly you set daily goals and your business doubles. Because it's that focus on the daily goal. You know, I've met lots of successful people, not just in our profession, but I had clients who succeeded in business, and I don't know any successful person who does not know at the beginning of the day what they want to achieve that day. Even if you're an administrator, you know what you want to move off your desk by the end of the day that will make you feel you've had a good day. Daily goals. So that's what happened, and so I thought, hey, my business just doubled. Now I'm going to go to MDRT. I have to tell you folks, my first MDRT meeting was in Hawaii. Now this is 46 years ago. People did not go on vacation from the UK to Hawaii 46 years ago. I went home and I said to my wife, and she was busy, we had 2 little baby girls back then, now they're mothers themselves. I said to them, darling, I've qualified for MDRT. She said, oh yes. I said, yeah, darling, I can go to the MDRT annual meeting. She said, oh, yes. I said, yeah, darling, I'm going to Hawaii. She said, oh, no. We are going to Hawaii. We don't have time for applause. Save it to the end. Well, just a little you can give me, okay. It cost me 20% of my previous year's income. But you know, when we go to MDRT, it is not a cost. It's an investment in our careers. Now, I thought, I've just doubled my business. Now I'm a big shot. Ooh, MDRT plus some. So I'm going to set a bigger goal, another 25% increase. And by the middle of the year, by June, when I was setting off with wife and two little kids, two little girls, by the time I was setting off for MDRT, I was well on target. I was going to smash that goal. In fact, I'd actually decided that for the second half of the year, I was going to take it easy. No more 15, 16 appointments a week. I was going to coast through the year because now I was a big shot. Now, in Hawaii, the hotels are by the beach and the convention center is downtown. So MDRT sent coaches around to the hotels, picking up the delegates, taking us to the convention center. I get on a coach and I sit next to this big, ugly American. And you know, like these friendly Americans introduce themselves, and I thought he's a little forward, but he introduced himself. And of course he congratulated me, because those of you who go to MDRT know first-timers have a different colored badge. And he had a badge with a white ribbon, and it said top of the table. I said, what's this top of the table? Oh, he said, it's a club inside the club. He said, it's the top. I don't know, back in those days, there were 500 or 600 top-of-the-table members. Now, I thought, if this is the job I'm going to do for the next 30 or 40 years, if only out of self-respect, I need to be in the club, inside the club. What do I have to do to qualify? And he told me. Unfortunately, I was wearing brown trousers. I said I could never do that much. But then I made a great investment. I said, can I buy you lunch when the morning session's over? And he said, yes. And when he told me what he did to qualify for top of the table, and he used those magic words which Naji has quoted, he's the person, I've put these, I've never been on a stage in all of the 56 countries and thousands of speeches I've been lucky enough to be asked to make. I've never made a single speech without actually quoting what he said to me. So I'm going to repeat what Naji has said. He said, we can achieve anything we want to achieve in this business if we just have the courage to believe we can achieve it. Now, is this all it takes? See, I've always thought that it's better to try and not succeed than not to try. What would be hurt if I aimed for the top of the table and fell short? You see, we don't fail when we fall short of our goals. We fail when we don't do better than we've previously done. As long as we're making progress, we are succeeding. I went home from that meeting, I tore up all of my goals, I made new goals to qualify for the top of the table. Same clients, same desk, same chair, same companies, same everything. The only thing that changes is in here. And on the 31st of December, I qualified for the top of the table for the first time. Now, when you get to my age, you start having all kinds of philosophical thoughts. And here's one for you. How do you go from doing this year after year after year to suddenly doing this, to doing something up here? The potential to do it must always have been in there. All I did was discover, via MDRT in my case, but all I did was discover how to let that potential out. So my question for you would be, how much unrealized potential lies within all of us?
Indeed.
Yeah, but Tony, question. Everybody in here, Naji, myself, everybody, we all have goals. I'm sure everybody has a goal here. But how did you stay motivated to keep going? Because, I mean, everything is just coming at you. You know, you mentored us for quite a while until things fell apart here and we couldn't make it over. Well, how do you keep going day after day after day?
Well, I don't really now, because I'm...
In the day.
I'm rewired.
Nothing changes.
This can be a very exciting business. I know no other business in the world where we can challenge ourselves every day. I remember my first boss, when he recruited me, he said, this is a business in which you will be paid what you're worth. How much are you worth, Fred? How much are you worth, Naji? Are you worth what you're getting now, or could you be worth a little more?
More.
Well, more. Okay, so what do? We test ourselves. We test ourselves by raising those goals year after year after year. Whether the goal is, can I do more business by seeing more people? Whether the goal is, can I do more business with the same number of people? Whatever the goal is, we can challenge ourselves to achieve, to really realize our potential in this business. There may be other businesses that work the same way, but I don't know of one. So how do I stay motivated? I don't know. Listen, I wake up in the morning, you do this. If you don't feel wood on your elbows, it's a good day, It's, let me get out there. Maybe I'll do some exercise or go to the gym or walk around the park behind my home or maybe I'll see one of my mentees, or maybe whatever I'm doing. Maybe I'll go see my grandchildren. Whatever I'm doing, I'm going to make the most of. Life is exciting, and we only come this way once. So we might as well make the most of it. One day, Fred, we're all going to be either planted or scattered. There is no third exit.
Indeed.
Okay, now in my case, we get planted. And they're going to put a stone up above my grave, and it's going to say, here lies the mortal remains of Tony Gordon, life insurance man. Potential intact or potential all used up. I want mine to say, potential all used up.
Wow.
Yeah, I hope it does. Wish you a long life, Tony.
So
But-
I don't know how I stay motivated, but how can I not be sitting here talking to you guys with all these people who some I know well, some I know vaguely, it's
So
just,
why do you think this business is so hard?
why is it so hard?
Yeah.
Well, firstly, it's entitled to be hard. If you think about it, whatever else you're going to do, if you go into law, you want to be a lawyer, you're going to have to go through years of study. And then you're going to have to become an associate, and you're not going to get very well paid, and maybe if your face fits, you become partner. It will take you years to get to the big money. Why should it be different for us? You want to go into the leading accounting firms. There was just an announcement, one of the big 4 accounting firms, partners in the UK, made £1 million a year each last year in the UK. Why should we make less than them? They're sucking money out of the system. We're putting money into the system. Right. So why should we be paid less? So what was the question?
And why this business is so hard?
Why is it so hard? Let me share this with you. We often fall into a trap, folks. We confuse simple and easy. They are not the same thing. This is a simple business. The complicated stuff is done by the actuaries in the head office. The process of what we have to do is relatively simple. Find people, talk to those people, discover how they are financially motivated, and then figure out how we can help them, and then ask for the check. That's not complicated, but it's not easy, because we have to discipline ourselves to get out of bed and do it every day. And self-discipline is one of the 2 major factors in this business. 2 things we have to have. Self-belief. And it's interesting that both of these, you can give me whatever you want to give me in terms of help and support, but 2 things must come from within here, from the self. Self-belief. Do I believe I can achieve the goals I set for myself? And self-discipline, because it's the self-discipline that will get me out of bed to do what needs to be done every day, every week, every month, to not put off to tomorrow what should be done today. And if we have self-belief that those goals, yes, they are achievable, and the self-discipline to do what's necessary, then, yes, the business is hard, but we can rise above the difficulty and reach the goals we set for ourselves.
Tony, let me ask you, first of all, let me remind everyone that this session, they are watching us. We are streaming live on this session. Only this session in Bliss we are streaming live. And there is a people from almost all around the globe on Facebook, YouTube of Bliss, they are watching us.
Oh dear.
And here, yeah. And yes, So, Tony, you know, in every country, there is a problem about the new generation to join the business, to join the life insurance profession. So, because now they are watching us, people maybe they are not in the profession, or they are thinking to enter the profession. Why you want to say to them why they should enter and what they can take back from this profession and what they can achieve in this profession?
This is a great business for those who are prepared to dream a little and discipline a lot and work hard. You know, my first day in the business, there was one other guy who started the same day as I did. Okay, every conversation that first couple of days that my boss had, he had with two of us. And I remember saying to him, what do I have to do to make sure I succeed? He said, 15 appointments a week, I guarantee you'll succeed. I said, what if I make 14? He said, with 14, you might succeed, but with 15, I'll guarantee it. Afterwards, the other guy said to me, because he'd been made redundant, so he had enough money to live on for a year or two, and he said to me, I'm not going to make 15 appointments a week. He said, I'll make 7 or 8. He said, so it might take me a couple of years to get where otherwise I would be. It didn't take him a couple of years to be out of the business. You have to put in the hard work. But if we put in the hard work, then there is no limit to what we can achieve. You know, there are people here who well, let me just see a show of hands. Who are the MDRT members? Stand up, MDRT members. Let's have a look at you. Stand up, MDRT members. Okay. Okay, now that's great. Just stay standing for a moment. Okay, now what about core to the table? Okay, stay standing if you're core to the table or top of the table. Okay? Okay, now stay standing if you are top of the table. Okay, now the rest of you take a look. Okay, are they taller? Are they smarter? Are they better looking? Okay, over this side they're better looking. Okay, not over this side. Okay, what makes the difference? The difference is they believe it can be done. So what would I say to somebody who's thinking of coming into this business? Come into the business. It's a great profession. And you know something? Don't take notice of the things that my family said to me. You know, my grandmother, bless her, wrote me a letter saying, don't take this suicidal step when I said I was going to come into the life insurance business. My father said, what kind of purpose is there in selling life insurance? It's so uncertain. You never know how much you're going to earn. No. If we keep statistics and keep our numbers, I could tell you on the 1st of January every year, within 2 or 3%, how much I'm going to earn that year. Because the numbers tell us everything we need to know. So the business is not an uncertain business once we have served our apprenticeship. And how long does it take you to serve that apprenticeship? Maybe 2, 3, 4 years until the penny drops. Don't take 8 years like I did. You know, I'm telling you about MDRT if you didn't know about it. If you've only just come into the business, I'm telling you about MDRT. Ask the questions of people who are members. What do I have to do? Don't wait 8 years to find out like I did.
So, Tony, you mean MDRT play a role in your life profession?
Well, look, it must do. Listen, I'm a past president of MDRT, so it must have been significant for me. But MDRT is not the point. The point is something triggers, certainly for me, set daily goals. Now, I had activity goals for the week, make my 15 appointments every week, so the activity goal was there, but the sense of urgency isn't there. And it's only when we look at what we're doing each day that our goals really start to happen. And the other type of goal, let's move from that, because I believe that short-term goals by activity, long-term goals by results. And I would encourage everybody to think long-term whilst thinking short-term. What's your career goal? If I were to ask you individually, There's going to come a point in all of our lives when we're going to want to be in a position where if we wanted to, we could retire from this business. What position do you want to be in? What would you want your income to be? It's just like we would say to a client, what would you want your income to be? Now, to have an income of that, it requires a certain amount of capital invested. What do you want that capital to be? And now, if you can, in your minds, link the daily goal to the career goal. If I do what I am supposed to do today and can do it today, it gives me the confidence to do it tomorrow and to do it next week and next month and next year, and therefore this will happen. But if I can't discipline myself to do what needs to be done today, who says I can do it tomorrow or next week or next month? Link the two, the career goal, the real purpose for our families that we're in this business. Link that with what we do every day, and it will help. It will give purpose to that daily goal.
So just manage the input. Manage the input.
Yeah.
So, Tony,
I have a question.
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
All the years that we used to work together, I always wanted to ask you, never did. What's the biggest sale you've ever made?
The biggest sale I've ever made. I made one or two big sales, but they were usually something esoteric that could be done in my marketplace and therefore is not necessarily transferable. Why don't I answer the question differently with what's the most important sale I ever made?
Important? Okay.
Okay, not the biggest, but the most important. When I got into the business, I tried to sell my father a retirement plan, and he laughed me out of the place. And then when he heard from his insurance company what his retirement plan was going to give him, he called me up and he said, I've just had this letter from the insurance company. He said, I'm going to have an income of £350, whatever that is in dollars, $400-500, PA. What does PA mean? And I said, per annum, Dad, that's £7 a week. He said, how can it be that all? I said, well, what premium were you paying? He said, £5 a month. I said, why weren't you paying more? You were a successful man. I said, why weren't you paying more? He said, because nobody ever came and told me I should be. I said, now will you listen to me? And he said, yes. And for the next 10 years, he worked and he took my advice. Now, sadly, 3 years after retiring at 76, he passed away unexpectedly. And my mum, who was 12 years younger than my father, after the funeral, she pulled me, everyone was there back at the house, you know, as they do, and she pulled me into the kitchen and said, I have 2 questions, that's all. Will I be able to stay in my home? Will I still be able to buy presents for my grandchildren? Isn't being able to answer yes to questions like that what this business is really about? We don't get paid for delivering policies, folks. Yes, we receive the commission when we deliver the policy. We earn it when we deliver the proceeds. And I have to tell you, she lived to make 93. For 29 years, she lived in her own home. She ended up with 17 grandchildren and great-grandchildren. She never failed to buy presents for them. And there was money left over for my brother and my sister and I and our kids to inherit at the end of it. That was by far the most important sale I ever made.
Wow. Big brother, while you were talking about your family and you mentioned about your brother, let me say that Tony, he also donate in the memory of his big brother that he lost 3 years ago, John Gordon. He donate another $1,000 for our cause for this year. So thank you, Tony.
If the check clears.
So, as influencer figure, you've likely encountered various challenges. I am asking this question because you know what we are going through in Lebanon for the last 4 years. And I'm sure there is many countries also, they pass from time to time in some difficulties and some tough times. What you have a message or what you can say for the people in our profession when they are passing the countries, the market in tough times?
Well, there'll always be tough times. You know, after 54 years in the business, you know, I've seen a recession every 7 or 8 or 9 years. Now, listen, I know that the people in Lebanon have gone through tough time after tough time after tough time. But there are some people out there who are making money. There are some people out there who are making a living. And it's our job to bring them security. It's what we do. So yes, you would prefer the economy was booming. But let me tell you, if the economy was booming, they would think it was going to go on like that forever, and therefore they wouldn't need your product. So sometimes when times are tough, I can remember, listen, I first came into the business and everything I was selling was unit linked. Every policy I sold was backed by investment funds, and the UK market tanked by 74%. 74%, and I don't really understand the market. I was just giving out the words, but we had to sell through that. Then a few years later, we had major strikes, and the coal miners went on strike. They tried to bring down the government. And because the coal miners went on strike, there was no coal going into the power stations, and therefore the electricity was cut. So we only had electricity for 3 or 4 days of each week. But they didn't tell you when the electricity was going to be cut. So what are you doing as a young insurance salesman when you're sitting in somebody's home? They don't need an objection. Then suddenly the power goes out and they say, well, I'm very sorry, I can't see what you're showing me. So what did I do? I would carry a saucer and a candle in my briefcase. And I'd open the briefcase and take out the saucer, put the candle on the saucer, light the candle and say, okay, let's go on. Right? And we have to adapt to tough times. And those who survive the tough times here in Lebanon, you will be so hardened by how difficult the times have been that you will find it absolutely easy to bring in the business when things get easier here. So what do you do when there are tough times? What's the alternative? There was no alternative for me other than I had to succeed, and therefore you just keep going. Just keep doing it. The key is our activity. If we have the activity, you know what happens in recession? If your closing average is 1 in 3 and things are tough, it might become 1 in 4. If your average sale brings you $1,000 of commission and the country's going through recession, it might be $900. There are some things which are out of our control. You know, the inflation that's going on in my country, it's out of my control. The stock market, it's going down, it's out of my control. What is in my control? The number of people I see is in my control.
Indeed.
Recessions, let me tell you, are voluntary. We do not have to join them.
Indeed.
So we're not going to join them then.
You can applause that one.
All right.
Yeah.
We're not joining. So, shall we take some objections from the audience? I know you love handling objections.
I don't think the audience, they take objection. They have problem with the objection. Do you have a problem with the
No,
objection,
nobody here
guys?
gets any objections, huh?
Any one of you, they have a problem with objections? Do you get objections from the prospect?
Closing 100%?
Everyone, they say directly, yes, I will take insurance from you. I will sign. Yeah? There is objections? Yeah? No objections? Some here, there is objections? Okay, like what?
I'll tell you how to avoid getting objections.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. But we couldn't hear you. Money issues, trust issues.
Now what a great question, trust issue. Let me, how many of you have ever had a prospect say to you, I want to think about it? We all have. Okay, so you go back and see them a week later and they say, oh, I haven't had time to think about it. If they want to think about it, they want to think about it now while we're there to answer their questions. No, it's just something they thought up. What's the problem? Or your prospect says to you, well, I want to talk to my Uncle George. What does Uncle George know about insurance or savings or investment? Nothing. These are not logical reasons for not buying. So what's the real question? The hardest decision anybody ever makes is the decision to trust somebody.
Indeed.
Girls, weren't you always told, don't trust strange men? Guys, weren't you told, don't trust strange women? I'm 77 years of age. I'm living in hope one day a strange woman will come and want to talk to me. Right? We're taught, read it before you sign it. Don't trust, don't trust, don't trust. If I don't make a decision, I can't be wrong. I can't look foolish. Therefore, I want to think it over. It's not whether they want to think about it or talk to their Uncle George or a question of money. It's always a question of trust. How, therefore, can we remove this trust barrier? Well, the simplest way to remove the trust barrier is be referred. If we are referred, it is assumed that this really difficult question, can I trust this person, has been handled and answered by the referral. So if we're dealing with referrals, we won't get that trust barrier. Right. And I tell you, the length of time we spend at the beginning of the sale is in inverse proportion to the length of time we have to spend trying to close the sale. The more time we spend getting to know our client, our prospect, and what motivates them, the easier it becomes to close the sale. You know, my boss on day one said, your job in the first year is to make 100 clients. It was very interesting. This was his thinking. You make 100 clients in the first year, you will undersell to all of them. He said, but that's okay, because in the second year, you will go back to the first 100, and 50 of them will buy some more, and you will sell to another 100 clients. Now you've got 200 clients. In the third year, 50 from the first year and 50 from the second year will buy again. That's another 100 sales, and you will make another 100 new clients. Now you've got 300 clients. Your prospecting problems are over. Now, like everybody else starting in this business, I was given that sheet of paper and they said, fill in 50 names of people you're going to contact. But my previous employer had just moved me to Manchester, where I started in the business. So on this list of 50 people, I wrote down the names of the only 2 people that I'd met in the city. Neither of them wanted to buy from me. I said, what do I do now? He said, you'll have to cold call. I said, what does that mean? He said, well, there's your yellow pages. Very neatly, it's all organized for you in different professions. There's a telephone. He said, start. I was 22 years old. I said, I can't call telephone strangers. He said, well, then you'll have to walk into their businesses. Well, I walked up and down roads. I would go into shops. The number of times I would go into a shop and I would come out with a packet of sweets or a box of matches because I'd just lost my bottle at the last minute. Right? I'd go round industrial estates. Right, but I made my 100 clients. And when I looked at my 100 clients, I made thousands of cold calls. When I looked at the 100 clients to see where they'd come from, 16 had been cold called and 84 were referrals. Doesn't that tell us something? Out of thousands of cold calls, 16 people bought, but then I would get referrals from them and referrals from the referrals. And it occurred to me, get good at asking for referrals, and you will never have to pay a penny to prospect in your life. We need more referrals, to have more referrals than we need, so we can cherry pick the prospects we want.
So do you have a good technique for asking for referrals?
It's merely 99% certain.
Okay.
Oh, you want to hear it?
How?
Yeah, if you
How you
share
get
it.
referrals? How you ask for referrals?
Okay. when we first meet a new prospect, I suggest that we say something like this. Fred,
Yes.
I just want to tell you a little bit about my company and the difference between us and others in the financial world. I don't acknowledge we have competition. Most people who do my job, Fred, have to spend most of their time looking for people to do business with. Doesn't leave very much time to look after the clients they have. We, Fred, are the opposite. We spend most of our time looking after our clients, very little time looking for new clients. Now, Fred, you may wonder how we're able to do this. It's very simple. We usually only take on as clients people to whom we are personally introduced, to whom we're personally referred. But enough about this, Fred. I want to ask you some personal questions about yourself to see if there's anything that we can do that might benefit you. And move into the soft fact find. Now, it might be next week, it might be next month, but you have now become my client. Fred, you remember when we first met a couple of weeks ago, and I told you about the difference between my firm and others?
Yes.
Okay. And Fred, I'm really only interested in meeting people I can get on well with in the same way that you and I have got on well together. So Fred, and I'm particularly interested, Fred, in meeting people who, and we have to give our new client the type of people we want to be introduced to. Because if I say to him, so who do you know might be interested in the sort of thing we've done for you, Fred? He'll say, ooh. Right, but if I say, Fred, I'm particularly interested in meeting people who run their own small business. Who do you know, Fred, who runs their own small business? I'm particularly interested, Fred, in meeting people who are self-employed or who complain most about paying tax. Tell me, Fred, who do you know who runs his own small business?
Yeah, I know Naji.
Naji?
Yeah.
What does Naji do,
Pretty
Fred?
small. What's he do? He's in the entertainment business.
He's in the entertainment. He is too. He's in the Sounds like the sort of person I'd like to meet.
This is
Fred,
the problem.
obviously you wouldn't mind. Anything that you and I have ever talked about, of course, will always be in absolute confidence. Very important words. Anything you and I have talked about, Fred, will always be in absolute confidence. But you don't mind when I call Naji if I mention the fact that you and I have done some business, do you?
No, of course not. Hope he doesn't hang up.
Was this hard? Now, of course, he might say, well, please don't mention my name. So, then I would go back to, Fred, I said anything that we've discussed will always be in absolute confidence. Now, Fred, I've been doing this job a long time, and I have never, ever had a client embarrassed because they have referred me to somebody they know. And I promise you will not be the first. Now, you don't mind if I mention your name when I speak to Naji, do you? Right. Now I'm going to call Naji.
Okay, you got the referral. He give you the permission to call him. What you say?
What do I say? I'm about to call you.
Done deal.
Okay. Naji, it's Tony Gordon here. Does my name ring a bell?
No?
No, he says. Oh dear, I am embarrassed. Naji, you know Fred Belman, don't you?
Sure, he's my friend.
Yeah. Well, Fred's been a client of mine for some time, and Naji, when I was chatting with Fred the other day, he
Yeah.
mentioned your name to me. In fact, Naji, he spoke very highly of you.
Fred?
Yeah.
Excellent,
Naji,
thank
I don't know if there's anything we do that will be of any benefit to you, but as Fred was insistent, I'd like to spend 15 or 20 minutes with you. I'll run through the things we do, and you can tell me if there's anything there of interest. Now,
Tony.
Naji, I'll be in your neighborhood on Monday morning about 10 o'clock, or would Wednesday afternoon at 2 be better for you?
You know,
Now,
Tony-
just shut up a minute. Okay. You can object in a minute. Okay. Listen to what I said. Okay. Naji, it's Tony Gordon here. Does my name ring a bell? You know, I'm thrown if he says yes. No, he says, oh dear, I am embarrassed. Am I embarrassed? I do this for a living. It's my job. Of course I'm not embarrassed. But I'll get just a little bit of sympathy to allow me to continue. You know Fred Belman, don't you? Yes, he says. Well, Fred's been a client of mine for some time. Some time can be a day, a week, a month, a year. When I was chatting with, listen, this is very non-confrontational. Not when I was in conference with Fred. When I was chatting with Fred the other day, he mentioned your name to me. In fact, he spoke very highly of you, Naji. How many times do I mention Fred's name? 3, 4 times? How many times do I mention Naji's name? Sweetest sound a person ever hears is the sound of their own name. Okay? Now, Naji, why do I say Fred spoke very highly of you? Because he's now going to wait to see if there are any more compliments coming. So he'll let me continue. These words are not plucked out of the air. These words have been refined and refined and refined over the years. They work. So then I say, Naji, Fred seems to think that 1 or 2 of the things we do might be of value to you. I don't know if there's anything there of any interest at all. But next time I'm in your neighborhood, I'd like to drop in, spend 15 or 20 minutes with you. I'll run through what we do, and you can tell me if there's anything there of value. You can tell me. I'm not saying to him, which is the way I was taught to do it all those years ago, oh, we've got lots of interesting plans for people. No, you can tell me if it makes you feel you're in control. But what's the most important thing I did? I closed Monday or Wednesday. Your office or my office, daytime or evening, whichever way you work. That's the most important thing. Now you can object. And your first objection will always be, what's it all about?
What's it all about?
Of course, Fred hasn't had the opportunity to tell you. Naji, we're in the financial business. We advise our clients on ideas for putting money to work. Many of them, Naji, are very tax efficient. I'm sure, like all of my other clients, Naji, you would agree that tax is something best not talked about over the telephone. Would Monday morning be convenient for you, or would you prefer Wednesday? If we don't close, we don't get the appointment. Put the close back in. Your next objection.
But Tony, I don't want to spend your time.
That's the last reason. Find the bigger ones than that.
But
well, if it's tax, I have a very good accountant.
Yeah, I have very good accounting. I have very good auditor, and I'm handling this part.
Naji, I would not want to meet you if I didn't think that your auditing and your accountancy was all well taken care of. Would Monday morning suit you? Would you prefer Wednesday afternoon? Well, if it's savings, I've got a very nice guy called Naji who's with MetLife. If it's savings, Tony, I've got a very good advisor.
Yeah, I have a very good advisor who's MetLife.
Yeah.
Of course you have. Naji, the work we do sits above the work of the average financial advisor. I would not want to meet with you if I didn't know that your basic financial planning needs were very well taken care of. Would Monday morning suit you, or would you prefer Wednesday afternoon?
Oh my God. Okay,
you might be wasting your time. You can use that one now.
Yeah, you might be wasting your time, Tony.
That's very likely, Naji. That's why I'm only setting aside 15 or 20 minutes for that first meeting. Monday or Wednesday.
But Tony, you're talking, this is a life insurance?
Well, we do lots of things, Naji. If you want to talk to me about life insurance, I'll talk to you about life insurance. Monday or Wednesday, Naji?
Let's go for Wednesday.
Right. The key is to close. You know, when I first went to MDRT, a speaker got up on the stage and started talking about 1031. And I thought, what is he talking about? 1031. Well, if you get prospect 10 people, you get 3 fact finds, and one of them becomes a client. And I thought, this is crazy. And I was asked a few years ago to do a talk, focus session MDRT. I said, I'll tell you what we'll call it: how to get from 1031 to 1098.
Oh yeah.
You see, if you call a referral and you close once, you'll get 1 appointment out of 10 calls. You close twice, you'll get 2, maybe 3. You close 3 times, you will get 4 or 5 appointments out of 10 calls. You close 4 times, you will get 7, 8, maybe 9 appointments out of those 10. And if they're well referred and you do the job properly, you will end up closing 8 of the 9. Right? It's all down to the number of times we close. Everything leads. You cannot get, we all have cell phones now, but I remember my first manager saying, you cannot get the pen down the curly wire. The purpose of the call, there's only one purpose. It's to make an appointment. And for goodness sake, anybody here have appointments that don't get kept?
Oh yeah.
Right. We make an assumption that our prospect keeps a diary. So once he said to me, well, Wednesday afternoon at 2 will be okay, I'll say to him then, Naji, do you keep a diary?
Yes.
And he'll either say yes or no. If he says yes, that's great. And I'm just putting you in my diary, Naji. That's next Wednesday afternoon at 2 o'clock. Now, you might then want to give him your phone number. You might not, because that might be an invitation for him to blow out the meeting, or you might. That's up to you. But you ask him to put it. If he says, well, no, I don't keep a diary, and lots of people don't, you got a piece of paper handy, Naji?
Yes.
Please write this down.
I will.
Right? I'll be coming to see you. My name is Tony Gordon, and I will be coming to see you next Wednesday afternoon at 2 p.m.
Excellent.
Now,
Waiting for you.
that's one way of reducing the cancelled appointments. Here's the next way of reducing them. Naji, I have your address here, but tell me, I'll be coming from my office at... How exactly do I find you? Even if you know where he is. If you ask your prospects to give you directions to find them, then they will be less tempted to not be there. And you'll find that cancellation rate comes down, 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 down.
Excellent. We have a question, Tony, from our brother Man Mohan Abdullah from Malaysia. One of the toughest life insurance questions is determining the appropriate amount of coverage needed for Generation Z. As this generation has it all, what's your advice?
What's I used to like to say you need 10 times your income. But I've heard insurance companies say you need 6 times your income. Actually, the secret of really being successful in this business is not us dispensing until we really know what the issue is. Right? So stop telling people what they need. You know, if you wanted to know if I've got a really good sales idea, here it is. Stop telling people what they need, ask them what they want. So I would ask you, Naji, you're a married man, Naji, you have an expectant wife, okay? Tell me something, Naji, what would you want to have happen to your mortgage in the event of, God forbid, in the event of diagnosis of a life-threatening illness? What would you want to happen to the mortgage, Naji?
I don't want to leave any problems to my family.
You don't want to leave. So how big is the mortgage?
Quite good.
Oh, you don't want to tell them. You can lie. It's okay. Okay. Right.
2
You
million?
realize where we are here? I've just taken a major step towards a critical illness sale. Okay, now, Naji, what would you want as income for your family in the event, God forbid, the event of your untimely death? What would you want as income?
Let's say 10,000.
10,000 per week, per month? Per month, so it's 120,000 a year. Let me make my mental arithmetic easy. Call it 100,000 a year. And Naji, would you want this to go down with inflation, or would you want it to stay level?
State level.
To stay level, okay. Now, we don't advise our widow clients to ever take an income that is greater than 5% of their capital. Hopefully, we will make more than 5%, but it's important that 2 or 3% gets added back to the capital. And if I were really making this as a sales presentation, I would be drawing a sort of a pot full of money. I would put a little tap, a faucet for you Americans who struggle with your English. On the side, we turn on the faucet, turn on the tap, and out comes the $100,000 a year you want for your family. Now, we don't advise our widow clients to ever take an income that's greater than 5%. So, Naji, if $100,000 a year represents 5% of your pot, what has to be in the pot? And if you can't work it out, I'll either give you a calculator or I'll tell you it's $2 million. $2 million at 5% will produce the 100,000. So
Lovely.
I'm not telling you what you need. I'm not using some insurance company formula that says you should have 6 times your income or 7 point something. You told me you want Sabine to have an income of $100,000 a year in the event of your untimely death. You're telling me on my formula that requires $2 million. $2 million, therefore, is now. Will you buy $2 million of life insurance? You
Maybe
might,
not.
you might not. But we've established a goal for you, something over the years for you to work towards. So forget insurance company formulas. Ask your clients what they want. And they, in telling you what they want, will tell you everything you need to know to make the sale. It's exactly the same with retirement planning. What income do you want, Fred, when you don't want to work anymore?
As much
The
as
same with the
possible.
5% formula. There's going to be a pot of money, Fred. You want $100,000 a year when you don't want to work anymore. And here's a line for you to use with clients. Because you see, if you make the need presentation that the life insurance company taught you, and Fred's earning $100,000 a year. I always thought you were a big hitter, Fred. You're only earning $100,000 a year.
You made that up.
Right. Fred's earning $100,000 a year. This is what the insurance company would have me tell Fred. Well, Fred, your mortgage will be paid off by the time you're 65, won't it?
Yeah.
And will the kids have left home?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you could probably get by with one car rather than two then.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can take the wife to the supermarket, Fred.
Yeah, of course.
And well, listen, Fred, things aren't going to be as expensive, are they, when you're retired? And the need presentation would have me suggesting he needs $50,000 a year in retirement to live the way he's living now on $100,000, and you can add the zeros to whatever level your client is. Here's the question that changes it all. Fred, when do you spend most money? Monday to Friday while you're working, or weekends and when you're on vacation? When do you
Weekends.
spend most money?
Weekends, vacation.
Weekends and vacation. Nobody ever answered differently. Fred, you realize when you don't want to work anymore, you're going to be on a permanent long weekend. You won't need less money in retirement. You will need more money in retirement. So tell me, Fred, you're earning $100,000 a year now. What do you want as income when you don't want to work anymore? And they will always say, well, I'd like it to be the same. And then I go through my 5%, only now we don't advise our widow clients to take more than 5%. I say we don't advise our retired clients. And I just draw a pot and stick a tap on the side. You want to be able to turn on the tap, Fred, and out will come that
$100,000.
And Fred, would you want that $100,000 to go down with inflation or to maintain its purchasing power?
Maintain.
Have I told him what he needs? No. Ask them what they want. It is the key to much larger sales. Well, now, Fred, what you want in your pot is $2 million. Any ideas, Fred, where it's going to come from? What a question. Sometimes they'll actually say, have you got any suggestions? Well, it's a very short step from there to closing the sale. And sometimes they'll just shake their head and say, no, well, Fred, if we could come up with some ideas to build towards that $2 million, would you like to take a look at them?
Nothing wrong with looking.
Okay.
Wow. Tony,
It's not complicated. It's not complicated. It's simple. Hard. I had to get the appointment with Fred in the first place. Okay. But once we've done the hard bit, the rest is simple. Don't confuse simple with easy. Now, there's a clock flashing there. Does that mean
Yeah.
we're done? I'm
Yeah,
quite
we're
happy
done
to
with
sit
that.
here for as long as you've got questions.
So, before you ask Fred the last question, what do you wish you have been told on your first day in business?
Oh,
You've been 54 years now.
yeah, 54 years. I have to remember that. I wish somebody had said to me, have a worthwhile goal. You know, I thought of this before when I went to the little room that nervous speakers go to before they come to speak. Anybody here ever been to Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam?
No.
Okay, you have. Okay. Well, now you ladies will know if you're married or have a male partner that sometimes our aim is not as good as it should be. And most of the time, he says. Well, that now you're showing your age. Right? Okay. Now, in Schiphol Airport, they tried an experiment. This is absolutely true. So if you ever are traveling through Schiphol Airport, Amsterdam, okay, go to the men's room. Ladies, you've got to send your man to the men's room to take a look. They put a print of a fly, bzz, 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 right, in each urinal. And the cleanliness went up by 75% because the men had something to aim at. It's perfectly true. It's true. Right. Anyway, what was the question? Oh yeah, I wish somebody had told me set daily goals. Okay, I wish somebody had told me set daily goals. Okay, because it gives that sense of urgency, that sense of purpose. But sometimes, you know, when you're a bit slow and dim-witted, you know, they told me not to come back to school. You know, maybe I needed those 8 years to create the years of success that followed. I was a slow learner, but that's okay.
Because you said have a worthwhile goal.
Yeah,
you said, you know, the one thing that you would say to anybody starting out is have a good goal, have a big goal.
You've got to have a big. It took me a long time to figure out what my big goal was going to be. And in fact, what happened, it was when I think, about the time I first qualified for MDRT, in fact, it must have been, I must have qualified for MDRT, realized how effective goals, proper goals could be. I thought, well, let's take this further then. Where do I want to be in 20, 30 years' time? What do I want? And I thought, I want £100,000 a year that I don't have to work for. And if I'm really conservative, forget my 5% rule, if I'm really conservative and use, say, 3%, that means I need £3 million. And I said, I don't care where the £3 million is. It could be in maturing life insurance. It could be in my retirement plan. It could be in real estate investments. But I want to be in a position when I don't want to work anymore, that I can have £100,000 a year without worrying where it's going to come from. And of course, then my income past £100,000 goes to 150. I want 150,000. I want 200, and on and up and up and up and up and up. So it's okay to keep moving that long-term goal. And I just kept moving the long-term goal till there was more money than I knew what to do with anyway. Okay.
I can give you some ideas. I can give you some ideas on that money.
Okay. Tell me when we're closing, because I've got one little thought I'd like to close
I think
with.
that's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I mean,
We
if you
need
got
to
one
close.
thought, go ahead.
Okay. Let me share a thought with you. This is a lovely story that I haven't used for, I don't know, 20 years or something. But we all must now be asking ourselves a question about, it's okay listening to these people, they've all found the way, and certainly I and the others have tried to say the way actually is really very clear, it's not complicated. But we must be asking ourselves a question, could I do this? Could I do what these people have done? So I'm going to share this story with you. It's a sort of parable, if you like, about a little town, a little village, many years ago, way in the desert somewhere. And in this little village, in the market square, an old man is brought every day, a wise old man, to sit in the square. And every day people would come and ask this old man questions. And there were two young men, two boys, that were talking to each other. And you know, one said, because the old man knew the answer to everything. He would give everybody that piece of depth of philosophy that he had. These two boys once said to the other, you know, we could prove the old man wrong. His friend said, how? And he said, well, tomorrow I'll go to the woods, to the forest, and I'll capture a little bird. And then I'll take the bird to the old man, and I'll ask the old man, what do I have in the palm of my hands? And the old man will know it's a bird, but I'll say, yes, old man, but is it alive or is it dead? And if he says the bird is dead, I'll open my hands and it'll fly away. And if he said the bird's alive, I'll crush it, it'll fall to the ground, and we'll prove the old man wrong. And true to his word, the two boys did this. They caught a little bird and they went to the old man. They said, hey, wise old man, what do I have in the palm of my hands? He said, why, young man, you have a bird in the palm of your hands. He said, yes, old man, but is it alive or is it dead? And the old man answered, the same way I would answer you if you ask, can you really really fulfill your potential in this business? The old man said, the answer to your question lies in your hands.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
The one and only Tony Gordon. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Tony.
Oh, just what I've always wanted.
To put next to the other one.
Yeah, we don't have to necessarily all park.
Whoa!